the 1 a.m. live stream because a lot of my audience members apparently are like me and don't enjoy sleeping. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you enjoyed my previous live streams. Once again, we've been talking about Freemasonry and the Enlightenment. If you were to ask me to define Freemasonry to a greater and greater extent, I would define it as, maybe the second greatest Enlightenment experiment in the world, the first greatest being the United States of America. So we've talked a lot about some different Enlightenment figures, Voltaire, Diderot, Ben Franklin, and I look forward to talking about them some more. However, I think for this 1 a.m. stream is mostly just going to be a hangout chat, see who joins and what you guys want to talk about. And thank you, by the way, for all the new subs. It's been growing quite significantly, and I do appreciate it very much. So let's just give it a bit of time. Oops. And while I'm waiting for some people to join, I'm just here inviting some people, typing on my computer. I have got a pretty exciting event coming up, going on a little bit of an adventure, and I can't wait to share that adventure with people in the coming weeks. I'd say stick around for tomorrow for more info. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. Welcome, Kyle. Thank you for being here. What does it mean to be on your square? Thank you for the question. And Kyle, hope you hit the like and subscribe button. So I've never heard the expression to be on your square. Like no one's ever asked me, am I on? I've heard the expression to be on the square or acting on the square. And acting on the square, Masonic, well, not just Masonically. I mean, it's one of those phrases that's kind of made its way into the world. Means to be just, to be upright, to act with people in an honorable way, in a correct and fair way. So, I've never heard it described as being on your square, but again, to act on the square means to act in a manner that is faithful, honorable, just, things of that nature, right? It's a metaphor. In Freemasonry, we use tools of stonemasons, like a square, to impart kind of moral ideas. Okay, I mean, now one of the things, keep in mind, Kyle, so I'm a Mason from Windsor, Ontario. Uh, Babu, I can't pronounce your name, but thank you for liking. Freemasonry does have, it's not the same everywhere. There's regularity and recognition. So, for example, I'm going to be traveling to some pretty faraway places and meeting my Masonic brothers there, and I can't wait for it. But they're going to do things slightly differently. So, if I were meeting somebody, I might ask them if they are on the square or acting on the square. But maybe they say your square in your jurisdiction, or maybe that's a unique thing to the lodge. It could be as well. But, square conduct means fair and upright, just conduct, things of that nature. So, I hope that made sense, Kyle. I hope you hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you for being here. Let me know if you've been on the channel before. Um, but I'm going to just say I can't pronounce your name. I'm going to call you B in honor of the first letter of your name. Thank you for being here. I do appreciate it. And Kyle, I hope I answered your question well. Let me know how it's going. If you have any other questions about Freemasonry, probably negative, positive, negative, or neutral, any questions, feel free to ask. I'd love to chat with you. And thank you for being here. It's 1 a.m. on the East Coast, or East Coast. It's 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm in Ontario. So maybe you're a night owl like me. So I believe what you're referring to there, Kyle, is Prince Hall Freemasonry. So Prince Hall Freemasonry, which is for African American or Black men, in Canada as well as the States, started because there was a lodge in Boston that refused admittance or refused to accept the application for membership of a black man. Prince Hall was his name. And so he started Prince Hall Freemasonry, initially getting a charter actually out of England. Um, so, it's unfortunate that happened, but it did lead to the creation of Prince Hall Freemasonry, which is a great part of our Masonic family. And at this point in 2025, there never was technically, although in practice there was, but certainly in Ontario, there is no such thing as like white or black Freemasonry or white and black Masons. You can, we have many in my lodge. We have members of all races. We have black members, members from Europe, from the Philippines, Asian, from South America, and that's true for every lodge, right? So at this point, there's no it's not black or white or Asian or any other type of Mason. It's just a Mason. Having said that, there are some for the historical reasons will want to join Prince Hall because it was such an important part of the African American community for so long. When due to Masons are human beings, unfortunately, and what that means is we carry with us some of the prejudices of our time. And for many years, when Masons were prejudiced against black men, Prince Hall was where they could go to be a part of Freemasonry, to learn about Freemasonry, and to get that community support that was so necessary. It depends on how much. I know this is going to sound like a weird question, Kyle. By the way, Bong, thank you for being here. Um, um, if you are, like, you do have to believe in a higher power or a supreme being, is really the term used to be a Freemason. Now, if you are, ardently atheist to the point where you will say there is no supreme being of any type at all, then yeah, you probably would not be able to join. Though the way that many lodges have defined supreme being I find is very expansive. So, there have been people who joined who, I've known people who have said, for example, in different lodges, they've said things like, my supreme being is an ordered universe, and, as expressed through mathematics, and that has been sufficient. So it's one of those things where the definitions kind of expand or narrow, but for that, you really need to just talk to the lodge if you wanted to join. But if you were like adamant and said, I do not believe in a supreme being of any sort, of any kind, then you would not be able to join. Thank you, Messi, for saying that. I truly appreciate it. Kieran, you can ask, but I'll see what I know. Um, Darth Severus. Field is the bodies and activities taking place within it. The knower of the field is the individual soul, which is aware of its own experience and activities and conscious within its own body. I'm doing well, Messi. Darth Severus. I'm not sure what that means, but it's very smart. I hope you'll take a moment, hit the like button and subscribe button. Thank you for being here. Kyle, I hope I've answered your question well. If I didn't, please let me know and I will try again. You would probably be fine, honestly, if that's what you were to say to that question. Um, yeah, but again, I don't want to speak for, because there are some jurisdictions where they are much more strict about like, at this point, I don't think any Masonic body or lodge is strict in the sense of like, supreme being has to mean Christian, Muslim, Jewish faith. Like, yeah, you has to have some sort of a doctrinal book. I don't believe anybody has that, but there are some, especially older Masons, who may be a little bit more strict about saying like it has to be blah blah blah. But honestly, the idea of a oneness and a divine living human experience, that has been similar. I've heard similar sentiments from men in the past who have been able to join. So, but again, I can't speak to necessarily everywhere because a lot of it will depend on where you're from, um, and your Masonic experiences therein. But thank you so much for the questions, Kyle. Let me know how you came across our stream. Do you follow us already? Or are you kind of new to Square and Compass Promotions? Are you interested in Freemasonry, etc., etc.? Is it? Um, I mean, maybe. I'd have to double check and double check in on that. Flea. Why do people bring up my nose? This camera makes my nose look bigger than it is, all right? Flea, it makes it look bigger than it is. Then Kyle, I hope that you will contact your local lodge. It's a slow process, or it can be a slow process to, from the first contact through to the application, through to joining. But just take your time and get in touch with them and just explain to them kind of what you're interested in and why you want to learn more about Freemasonry. It's one of the things I love to talk about. Okay, cool. I'd have to double check the dates. I don't think I know what they are off the top of my head, but I guess it does make sense. I hope so. I hope so. And by the way, please take a moment, hit the like and subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Um, let's double check. I'm gonna do a Google search quickly, because the first Masonic Lodge in America was at the Green Dragon Tavern in Boston, right? Um, okay, I hope the surgery goes well. I know it can be really scary to get surgery. First Masonic Lodge in Canada versus First Masonic Metallica Lodge in States. The first Masonic Lodge in Canada was established in Annapolis Royal, Nova Scotia, 1738, while the first Masonic Lodge of the United States was established in Boston, Massachusetts. No, so according to Google anyways, but take that for what it's worth, it's actually Boston, Massachusetts has us beaten by 5 years, 1733 to 1738. But maybe, I'm not going to say Google knows for sure because Google's using those AI algorithms. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Please take a moment, hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you for being here. We're here chatting about Freemasonry. But sorry, I don't know what your answer is, but for me, Metallica. Metallica. They do not. That is actually Sogo Hotel, and welcome back, Sogo. That is kind of a big misconception. And I understand where it came from, because a lot of times what you'll hear Masons talking about, Masons who are Christians, will say they have a Masonic Bible. And a lot of people assume that that means that it's some type of Bible that's special, that has things in it that other Bibles don't, or like stuff we've been keeping a secret. The Bible itself is actually, to my knowledge, it's the King James version of the Bible. It's like the same as King James version that you get, at a church or anything else. It's called a Masonic Bible because what a lot of Masons started doing is they would purchase a Bible, they would put a square and compass on the cover, and the first couple of pages they would leave blank, and Masons could sign it at their initiations. So when they would join and get their degrees, anybody present would sign it as a keepsake. and just as something he could keep to remember all the men who were there with him, and he could keep the Bible because he would take his obligation on it. So there is no Masonic Bible in the sense of something that has, a different scriptures in it, but there are Masonic Bibles in the sense of, a regular Bible with a square and compass on the cover and with a space for membership to signs. Um, I mean, a messy fan. I think we're okay for now. I'm trying to avoid at the moment. I tried it before, and it was great when I was doing it. But I think I'm going to stick to moderating now for myself because it seems to be working okay. But I do appreciate the offer, Messi. I do appreciate it very, very much, and thank you for offering. Are you like from a church? Well, I'm a Freemason. Freemason is not a religion. It's not a church. We do have members of all different faiths. One thing we have in the Masonic Lodge is when you join, you take an obligation. And just like when you go to court and you testify, you'll take an obligation to tell the truth, and you might swear it on a Bible or any other holy book. In the same way, in Freemasonry, you'll have a place to take the obligation, and some will take it on a Bible, some will take it on a Quran, some will take it on a Torah, some will take it on an eagle feather if you're First Nations. So, I think it's very interesting. Messi, thank you for being here, though. I truly appreciate it. Oh, we have got quite the storm happening right now here in Windsor, by the way. There's a tornado warning. If you see me starting to fly out the window, it's a tornado came and got me. There are many kind of Gnostic, kind of Gnosticism is kind of, in some ways runs parallel to Freemasonry, I would say. So it's a really interesting thing. Yes, I'm from Windsor, Ontario, and it is going right now. It is storming like crazy, which is nice because it's cooling things down. I'm one of those people who I like to sleep when it's cool. So, uh, a little bit. I'm sure there's gonna be more coming. Whenever I hear thunder, I think of it's like thunder, lightning. The way you love me is frightening. So, it's 1:20 in the morning. So there are no like so that the idea of, for example, um, oh, good to know, Bong. Thank you. So when you ask like what do Masons believe about Jesus, it'd be asking, what do football players believe about Jesus, right? Every football player will have his own kind of opinion or what every plumber believes or whatever, right? Mason is not a religious designation. It is a designation of membership, or another way to put it is designation of a skill to be a Mason. But it's not a so I would say certainly in North America, the average Mason would at least be culturally conversant in Christianity, whether or not they believe in the tenets itself. I'm not sure, but um, you know, you need to believe in a supreme being, but you don't need to believe in, let's say, the Christian ethics or Christian version therein, right? Again, we have Muslim Masons and Jewish Masons and Wiccan. I've even, indigenous peoples, Hindu. So it's a lot of different religious beliefs. There are not. That is so. In the 14th, 15th, 16th centuries, when you had stonemasons who had to protect their trade secrets, almost like kayfabe in wrestling terms. They would threaten guys if they divulged the secrets of being a stonemason with punishments because they didn't want the secrets to get out and affect their ability to make a living. In 2025, and for the last 100 years and beyond that, um, any reference to penalties, they are not, there's no, they're not practiced. They are symbolic, but they're not literal. They're not real. If anybody, were at risk of, especially because all the Masonic secrets are on the internet anyways. So there'd be a lot of people, being punished if we had to actually go around and actually enforce these severe punishments. So they're symbolic, they're not literal. And they're meant symbolically to pay respect to those who came before us. So, like I said, the secrets, I will not divulge the secrets, not because I'm afraid of punishment, because I took an obligation not to, and because I care about trying to keep my word as much as I can. But people have different, but again, they've all been on the internet. I hope that made sense. Green Day. Where do women fit? Um, women, so, um, well, it's probably referencing again what are referenced in lodges as traditional penalties, but they are, and you are informed before you join, they are symbolic and not practiced. And again, I've never been afraid. There's plenty of people who've said stuff on the internet that I'd rather they not. And the worst punishment that you can get is to be, have your membership in a lodge suspended. But even that doesn't happen, very much. So when you ask where do women fit, Meow Mix, I assume you mean in the Masonic family. Um, so we have in the Masonic family the Order of Eastern Star, which the wife of a Mason can join, and that was the primary source of membership in Eastern Star was Masonic wives, as well as Masonic mothers. At this point, membership's even been opened up to just women in general, but it was always meant as a place for family members of Masons who are women. There's also the Order of Women Freemasons, and there's also Rainbow, which is a youth group for Masons. Sorry, youth group for young women. So there are many different, and then there's you have your like women's auxiliaries. Women will take part in social events and social functions. So you have a million different ways in which women are part of the Masonic family. And I do always try when I'm talking on these streams to be more clear about like, Freemasonry is not exclusive to or for anyone. It's not exclusive for men. It's not exclusive for any particular race. It's not exclusive for ages because there's Masonic youth groups for people under the age of 21, both men and women. That'd be so, Meowmix. That would be a hard question for me to answer because, I'm not a woman. So I can tell you in my experience speaking to Eastern Star members, both here in my hometown of Windsor, and I have a lot of friends in Illinois, some are Eastern Star. It means the same to them that Freemasonry means to me, something that they get to be a part of, that allows them to contribute to the community, that allows them to contribute to the bonds of sisterhood. And it gives them a chance to be like, okay, my husband has, or whomever has Masonry, I have my Eastern Star, right? But I wouldn't want to be, I wouldn't be comfortable speaking too much about what it means to them because again, I'm not a woman, but whenever I've spoken to them, it's always been clear to me that they kind of have the view of Eastern Star as I do of Freemasonry. And it's just something that they care about. Again, not everybody. There are plenty of Masons, men who join Masonry don't enjoy it. I'm sure that happens with Eastern Star as well. Um, it's kind of like anything else. Um, I'm not sure what given a download references, but I do appreciate if you can let me know, but I do appreciate the questions very much. It's always wonderful to have you join. And I always appreciate anytime anybody asks me any questions. And please, once again, I hope you'll take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button. Well, I don't believe the temple represents something within the self. Rather, the temple is the self, right? So, like, we are, the way I interpret it, and other people may have different interpretations, but the way I was interpreted the ritual, excuse me, is that we are the temple or a temple. The difference is we are an unfinished temple. We are always working on ourselves and improving and trying to be better. Um, you know, or maybe the idea of the temple, I could also see it meaning like the eternal idea in some ways as well. So, um, if you view us as the rough ashlar to the perfect ashlar, you could view the temple rather as an eternal idea, even though the temple is no longer in existence. I mean, just the wall is, but nothing else. But the fact that we still talk about it means there's this idea of the temple that persists even after it's no longer present. And in the same way, there's this idea of us that exists even after we're, passed away. Welcome, Smokey. Thank you for being here. Um, so again, Sogo Hotel, I would have to know. So for me, I'll give my example. When I joined, it cost $500 the upfront fee, and after that, $100 per year to remain. So the first year was $600, 500 membership fee, 100 in dues, and then after that, it was $100 every year. So I find on average dues cost between 100 to 300 US dollars per year, and the first time initiation fee is usually between 200 and 500. But that's very rough. It could be, again, there are some places where it's more or less. So, and again, what you can do is you can start the process of just talking to the guys, asking them questions, and start saving at the same time. It can go from there. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I hope everybody is doing well. I hope you will hit the like button and subscribe button. Let me know how you're doing and if there's anything you want to chat about when it comes to Freemasonry. Yeah, just start the process. And at the early stages, don't even worry so much about how much it costs or doesn't cost, or just worry about how well you get along with the guys that you're going to be hanging out with. That is the key. Sometimes people can get way in the weeds at the start. I think it's better to just focus on how much will I enjoy being around these people. I don't believe that there is, Bong. Um, it depends. So I'm going to go with Sogo's question first, then Bong. Sogo, it depends on how active you are. Because of this podcast, because of what I'm trying to do with Freemasonry, am communicating with other lodges all the time. It's one of my favorite things to do, is to communicate with other lodges. I'm very lucky and blessed to have friends in so many different Masonic lodges. But that is an exception. Most Masons will primarily communicate with their own lodge. But what I will say, Bong, is, Sogo, is if you want to get the most out of your Masonic journey, visitation with other Masonic lodges is critical. That is the way that you'll get the most out of your Masonic journey. So, I don't believe, Bong, that there is a final goal. Um, in my experience, the teachings of Freemasonry teaches us rather that it is possible for us as people to be more perfect today than we were yesterday, and more perfect tomorrow than we are today, but we will never reach a true state of perfection. Rather, it is the work and effort that matters, and that's the most important thing. Others would say probably that Freemasonry actually says something different, that it is possible to reach a perfect ashlar, but based on my readings and interpretation of the ritual, I don't think it's saying that. I think it's saying it's not about the end goal, it's about the desire for constant improvement and constant growth. Meow Mix, the alignment of Jupiter and Venus, very cool. That was awesome that it happened on your 35th birthday. So I'm a member of 5 lodges, but my mother lodge, there's approximately 75. Okay, Meow Mix, very interesting. And lodges nowadays can range anywhere from, on average, 25 members up to a couple hundred, depending on the nature of it. So it's very interesting. It's very, very fascinating stuff. I am very fascinated by the usage of numbers as a way to explore how successful or not successful our Masonic lodges may be. It's really interesting. Thank you, Sogo. If you, another way that you can support the channel, as you know, is through Patreon. Patreon.com/square and compass. It is possible to join for free, or, some of the amounts are as low as $3 per month, but I'll leave the link on here again, patreon.com/square and compass. Sogo, I do want to say, I don't want to, make any major promises because I understand it can be challenging. And you should always speak to doctors, etc., etc. I will say I have known some Masons who suffer from social anxiety who have found that being a part of Freemasonry helps alleviate that social anxiety. Not in every case, but in some cases. So I'm I believe they're different. I mean, the Eastern Star may have got its name from the Star of Bethlehem. I would have to double check that. But obviously, symbolically, the Eastern, Bethlehem Star is religious in connotation. Again, Freemasonry and Masonic groups are not religious in nature. Bong, thank you so much. I appreciate that very much. Have a good night. Thank you, Sogo Hotel. I truly appreciate that. I can't help you. I don't drink. I don't drink at all, Smokey the Clown, so I cannot help you. I'm sure if I tried to drink moonshine, I would cough it all out. So, I cannot help you. Where did I put? I just lost something that I kind of need. Where did I put that thing? Oh, there it is. Found it. But if I find any good shine, I'll send it your way. I promise. I know it's tough. I mean, what I'd say is if you have longer things you want to talk about, I hope that you'll consider going on to some of my episodes and just leave me some comments. And I'll do my best to try to answer them. I can't promise you'll be able to answer every comment, um, or respond to every comment, but I would try my best. And thank you so much for, again, being here. I truly, truly appreciate it. Well, there is this joke discussion that I've heard that Freemasons made good moonshine. I don't know. I've never tried any Masonic moonshine myself, so I cannot say. But I'll say the song Copperhead Road, which was about moonshiners, references Masonic lodges. So there is that to its credit. Um, Copperhead Road, I like that song. The fact it mentions Masonic lodges, I think, is really cool. Thank you so much for being here. I truly, truly appreciate it. To everybody who's here, please take a moment if you're just joining, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget about my other channels. I'm going to be posting a lot of stuff in the coming days. You're going to be seeing some pretty exciting things. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I truly hope it is going well. I have no idea what 120% at 400 proof means, but it sounds pretty deadly. I don't want to encourage anybody Do you drink moonshine? Because I feel like 120 at 400 will make you go blind. I don't know for sure though. Make you, it would. I feel like it might have, your liver might be sizzling at that point. But I can imagine. So the last poll, George Washington won. The one before that, Ben Franklin won. Honestly, if I had to pick my favorite Freemason, for the longest time would have been Winston Churchill. Lately, I've been on this Enlightenment kick, and there's this Freemason by the name of Condorcet, I believe. Let me just, can I pronounce his name correctly? Who was a Freemason and a philosopher. Yeah, Marquis de Condorcet, and he might be my new favorite Freemason. Honk honk. How about dem apples? How about dem apples indeed? You know, so I really like a lot of what Condorcet has been saying. He took a leading role in the French Revolution. As revolutions go, I've always been kind of concerned about them, but he was, very liberal. He was promoting equality amongst men and women when most were not. The idea of equality among citizens, kind of a dislike of superstition, which I really appreciate. The idea of progress. Condorcet believed that through the use of our senses and communication with others, knowledge could be compared and contrasted as a way of analyzing our systems of belief and understandings. None of Condorcet's writings refer to a belief in a religion or a God who intervenes in human affairs. I really love his work, love his idea. I love this part. He had faith in humanity itself and its ability to progress with the help of philosophers such as Aristotle. He doesn't, we don't need a religious figure to tell us what's right and wrong and help us progress. We can do it ourselves. That is something I really, really appreciate. Awesome, Smokey the Clown. You know what? Everybody watching this, I'm going to be going a little bit longer, but Smokey, you should check out Smokey the Clown's live as well. I hope it goes well. My name is it actually Sogo? Because if so, you're named after one of my favorite philosophers. One of my favorite people. I don't know if you call Aristotle a philosopher. I guess to me, you might call him more like a scientist almost, or a pre-scientist. The scientific method didn't exist yet. That is awesome. In that case, please become a Patreon, because to have a patron called Aristotle would be so cool. It'd make me feel pretty proud of myself, even at the free level. It's more just the principle of it. Okay. Whatever you enjoy doing, it is a lot of fun, right? And I try to balance it out. Like that's one of the things I find very challenging with being on YouTube. Like, who is the audience for whom you are producing content? Are you going to, like, from a Masonic perspective, am I going to try to produce content that focuses on how Masons can get more out of the craft and grow the craft and find more success in the lodge? Or am I going to do content about non-Masons who have questions about Freemasonry and don't know anything about it, right? And it's like, how do you do shorts? Do you do long form? Maybe, Masons will appreciate more short form stuff where they already can get the information they need quickly, but non-Masons will want longer form. It's a really interesting kind of balance that you're kind of constantly playing at. I'm not saying I've made it by any means, but I've tried my best. I'm still working on it, though. I'm still struggling with it. But like in Freemasonry, we always say you're always going to be struggling with these things. Yeah, so like what type of content would you say you prefer, Smokey? Do you prefer live streams like this? Would you prefer to get more information from shorts? Things of that nature, right? It's very fascinating once you start thinking about it. I mean, you don't have to be religious to be a Freemason. Um, I mean, I can barely manage to survive in one dimension successfully. Live. Okay, perfect. Well, then I do appreciate you being here, and I do enjoy the live streams, and I do enjoy the chats as well, actually. I find them a lot of fun and really enjoyable. So I'm sure it is an absolute blast. And it's like, I've always liked talking to people. I'm one of those weird, I don't like people, but I like talking to people. It's a very strange combination I have. And a big part of that means I love this because it's like you have people coming around from everywhere. I learn about masonry in different parts of the world, the questions people have from different parts of the world. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe in some ways, meow mix, we all do. And I'm not trying to say that to be, that sounds like one of those statements that, you say but doesn't really mean anything. But maybe, we all kind of sit next to our supreme being in some way. I hope so, anyways. I hope people can find a way to do that and feel like they are secure in that. Well, so then I definitely will not be experiencing that with you, but um, well, that is very interesting as well. I'm not sure that's possible. Exactly. I can understand how, I mean, I've never, my substances of choice has always been exclusively caffeine. I love coffee. I used to smoke cigarettes, but it's been a while. But the thing about that is, um, when it comes to substances, they can absolutely affect the way that you interpret the world and your sense data. I think you want to be careful that you don't allow those modifications to the way you view the world to kind of um, um, to overtake you, right? You want to kind of keep a certain level of distance from them, in my opinion. But I do hope everybody is doing well. Thank you again for joining. Again, it's interesting. I have so many audience members who apparently are night owls like me. But I do hope everybody's doing well. Please take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's a poll question I can ask. It's funny, I find poll questions often very much help with the chat, sir. It's very much help people find the chat. People like to answer poll questions. I'm just not sure what to ask. The last few questions I'm asking is about the Enlightenment. Let me know if you have any favorite Enlightenment thinkers. Um, you know, Voltaire, Ben Franklin, those are all kind of the Enlightenment figures that you might think of. That's okay. I mean, it sounds like you managed to explore education after that and kind of learning things. So I understand many different ways to gain education. I'm not encouraging anybody to drop out of high school. I would encourage everybody to graduate. Having said that, I also do respect and understand that people oftentimes are able to find knowledge outside of that. So long as you are trying, right? We kind of talked about this before, above when I talked about like what matters ultimately is more than anything else, what ultimately matters is not where you are in the moment, but the work, right? Putting in the work to constantly improve, putting in the work to constantly do better. You're never going to reach that state of perfection that maybe you'd like to, but you're always going to try to get better. And if you're always trying to get better, that's what matters. That's what should matter, is always trying to do better. Smokey DeClown, favorite Enlightenment thinker? Ben Franklin is one, for example. Voltaire, George Washington could be one. Thomas Jefferson. Um, Bob Marley. You know what? Bob Marley was not an Enlightenment thinker, but he was a very good thinker and a very good musician. So I have to respect that very much, very, very much. Redemption Song, maybe one of the greatest songs of all time, which is Bob Marley, right? And now just watch, I'm going to get that wrong. It's going to be not him. But I'm nearly positive that's Bob Marley. And it's an incredible song. Also, No Woman, No Cry, pretty incredible song. Um, so Bob Marley is great. I support that 100%. Um, well, Kyle, I'm not a fan of that statement there. Um, I'm not sure why you would say that. Just from a Masonic perspective, there are many African American Black Freemasons, and they're all awesome dudes. So, you know, I'm a fan of everybody. All right, Kyle, not a fan of that statement either. There's no such thing as a destructive race. People are people. There are some destructive people, and there are some. I think most people are good. There are some destructive people, and they, can kind of be from almost any race. I'm just gonna call you Free. Welcome, Free. Thank you for being here. Yes, I agree with that, Smokey, as well. Somebody who says, all X group is the problem means they themselves are the problem, right? So if somebody says like all X group is a problem, that's not cool. I mean, I guess this is not something I can understand. I can understand not wanting to be around people. I get that, because people can be challenging, and I'm somebody who sometimes like to be um, likes to be on my own, but that is not exclusive to any one particular group. Well, so Free, I do not. Again, I can't say anything for certain, but I've never seen any evidence that if you're referring to Sean Combs, I've never seen any evidence that he is a Freemason. I don't believe he is. I've not seen any evidence that he is. It seems to me that conspiracy theorists who kind of want to use him to make hay are kind of claiming that, but that is not the at least to my knowledge, it's not the case. I've not seen any evidence of it. Um, So again, it seems like every now and then what happens is I'm not sure where it comes from or why, but if there's ever like a celebrity who's in the news for doing things that are not cool or has been accused of doing things that are criminal or just evil or bad or whatever it is, then a lot of the people will suddenly, like a lot of anti-Masons and anti-Masonic conspiracy theorists will suddenly jump up and say like they're a Mason, right? Whereas nobody ever does that if, a celebrity's giving a bunch of money to charity. Nobody ever gets up and points to them and goes like they're a Mason. It's only when they do stuff bad that the anti-Mason conspiracy theorists try to take Freemasonry down by claiming Masonic membership from that celebrity. Um, oh, sure, it always happens when but this has been, I've seen on social media sites claims that anybody in the news for doing anything bad is suddenly a Freemason. Nobody's called him a Freemason for when he was really popular and making music and just a musician. But as soon as all this stuff comes out, suddenly, you know, um, same thing with oh God, I've heard it about Epstein. I've heard those things about. I'm not saying, by the way, this is not me saying that every Freemason. There are many Freemasons are people, and unfortunately, there are some of them who have done terrible things. There's not much you can do about that until you deal with people. Hopefully, if you find out, the Masons will, kick him out of the lodge and call the police or whatever it is. But human beings unfortunately mean Freemasons are like anybody else and not perfect, and sometimes they mess up and do bad things, and hopefully, again, with whomever it is, if you're doing bad things, hopefully you're caught and you are punished for it, and you learn from it and do better in future. At least that's the hope. It's one way that people do slander the Masons. And again, it's not new. I remember hearing about, um, throughout history, excuse me, the idea that Hollywood is Masonic or whatever it is. Oof, went down the wrong way. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Um, but yeah, and then not. But by the way, there are some famous Masons who are proud of being Freemasons and talk about it a lot, like Shaquille O'Neal, Brad Paisley, are two that come to mind right away. So that is something really cool to keep in mind as well. Mozart, speaking of musicians, was a Mason. On a side note, another Enlightenment figure. Um, Here we go. Let's do this question. I was trying to think of a poll question. Favorite Masonic musician? Mozart, Brad Paisley. I'm just going to look this up quickly. Masonic musicians. Steve, welcome, Steve. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. I hope you will hit the like and subscribe button. And answer my poll question, which is going to come out in just one sec. What will be the one more I could do? I don't know who Richard Osetti is. Does he do music is he on YouTube? Does he produce music on social media? Is he with any type of label? There we go. Of these four, because I can't, I don't know who yours is. Um, Mozart, Brad Paisley, Louis Armstrong, or Nat King Cole. I will for sure. Richard Osetti, thank you so much for letting me know. I love music. I've said before, one of my favorite Masons is Ben Franklin. And I've said many times in the past that, you know, music, because Ben Franklin said, beer is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. Since I don't drink, I've repurposed the quote and I say, music is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. And I truly believe that to be the case. I love music. Mozart is the GOAT. We got Louis Armstrong and as well. I mean, Mozart is the GOAT, but having said that, Louis Armstrong, what a wonderful world. I mean, it's hard to beat that. Interesting enough, though, we got four votes, four votes, three for Mozart, one for Nat King Cole. Poor Brad Paisley and Louis Armstrong getting no love in the chat. So, Steve, welcome. Have you been on the stream before? I don't remember if I've seen you on the stream before. Um, but thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it. Let me know if you have any questions about Freemasonry. I've been a Freemason since 2007, so 20 years. I don't know everything about the craft, but I love to talk about it. I love to get different perspectives on it. Even people who have negative views on Freemasonry, I love to talk to them because it helps me better understand why I have positive views on it and what I love about it. I am familiar with Aleister Crowley. I'm familiar with the book, or with, was it called Book of the Law? I thought it was called something else. I mean, I have not read it. I've read some of Aleister's works, but um, yeah, I'm not sure if I necessarily know that one, but it sounds familiar. I do hope, by the way, you are doing well, Steve. Um, are you, if you don't mind me asking, Steve, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but are you a Mason yourself? Um, and have you seen any maybe of my streams in the past, or do you have anything maybe that you'd want to talk about or think would be fun to chat about? Wow, Mozart is at four, Nat King Cole is at one. Poor Brad Paisley and Louis Armstrong getting nothing. See, while I appreciate the sentiments of, Aleister Crowley, do what thou will shall be the whole of the law, does not seem like a particularly healthy axiom on which to base a legal system or even a personal moral code. One of my favorite quotes when it comes to the idea of freedom is from Janis Joplin. Uh, Freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose. So I don't think freedom is necessarily the most important thing which we can aspire to. I think well-ordered, reasoned liberty is probably a better approach. Um, Love is the law. That's a very nice quote, Meow Mix. I mean, to love others as one loves, to love others as yourself is a pretty decent way to live. To love your enemies as well. Okay, Steve. If you have any questions about Freemasonry, please let me know. I'm happy to talk about it. Again, that's why I do these streams, and what I love about doing these streams is meeting people who have questions. Dick Del Celine. I'm sorry, Del Celine. I didn't see your question. I must have missed it, or maybe the chat didn't put it down. Um, I hope you'll forgive me. I hope you'll ask again. Um, Delceline. Um, it's no worries. I just appreciate you being here. I'm just always curious to know. Um, I'm not sure why it's not coming up on my end. Maybe the chat is being funky. Oh, I just see it. I just found it here. Sorry. When you reach 33rd degree in masonry, you find out, are you comfortable with that? So I have to, I just saw it here. Delson, while I do appreciate you being here very much, I do have to disagree with you. I think you may have been reading some Albert Pike, and misinterpreting what you're reading, right? Freemasonry does not worship Satan. Freemasonry does not worship anything, right? Freemasonry or any one specific figure. To be a Freemason, you must believe in a supreme being, but the supreme being is a personal supreme being. So in the same way, you wouldn't say like football players worship a particular anything, right? In the same way, every Freemason will come to it with his own understanding of what the supreme being is. Sometimes it'll be from a particular faith group, Christian, Muslim, Jewish. Sometimes it will be more spiritual, but it certainly has not, nor has it ever been Satan. I believe you may have been, again, reading some Albert Pike, but perhaps misinterpreting what you were reading. We also do not worship Baphomet, nor do we worship any. Freemasonry is not a church religion. There is no worship of a deity, or a religious deity. Again, as somebody who has been to approximately 3,000 Masonic events. Um, oh, Steve with the jokes. One of my favorite Masonic events. I've never seen nor heard Baphomet mentioned in any Baphomet nor Satan mentioned in any context. Do I think that there are degrees of I think there are degrees of evil. So, Vera, I think there are degrees of evil within the human soul and heart. Call it what you want. I think to be human is to have a level of evilness within you, but also to have a lot of good within you. And hopefully, the good that you can do will outweigh the um, um, evilness, right? And I think that kind of needs to be our goal in life, whether Mason, not a Mason, whatever it is to do the best that we can to try to make ourselves more perfect. Obviously, it's the never-ending process. We'll never get there all the way. Um, but you just keep trying your best. But I don't believe, it is a specific or unique thing to um, a specific or unique thing to religion, the idea of evilness. So I guess the best I can say is I have knowledge of the 33rd degree both from my research and study, and also, having several very close friends who are themselves 33rd degrees, some of whom I've interviewed on podcasts. Um, and, I cannot imagine that they would remain in an organization if they were told that they were worshiping Satan. And I also think it would get out. So it's one of those situations where, Del Selene, I guess it's a matter of, do I trust, my observations and judgments and researches and what I see in Freemasonry, everything up to this point, or do I kind of trust somebody who's in the chat, right? And I kind of got to go with everything I've seen thus far. Um, well, so if I were to reach the 33rd degree and I were to be told that, you are now worshiping Satan, I would not be okay with that. I would be quite concerned. I would also be quite shocked because nothing in, anything I've seen thus far would indicate that that would be the case. So it would be very surprising. Also, um, Del Selena and Vera also. I guess one thing I'd point out as well, and I've said this before, if I want to get somebody to my way of thinking, I'm not going to give them the most important information at the end of the chat. Or sorry, at the end of the thing, right? Like I'm gonna give them the most important information right away. So to me, the most valuable and important information in Freemasonry is in the first 3 degrees, because when you're joining, you want to make sure that they know what they need to know to be able to advance. It would make no sense to kind of trick people into going to higher and higher degrees, especially when there's not really any money in it, and then when they get to the top, telling them the truth because they're not going to stick around after that, right? I just don't think it'd be a particularly effective model of membership retention or just membership in general. To me, if you're joining something, I want to know, what are you told first? That to me is the key. That to me is where the most important and valuable information is. Why do you mention money? Well, I mean, I meant in the idea of like one of the reasons certain groups may try to hide information from people is to get them to pay more and more to keep going, right? So this idea of like, you see that with a lot of businesses and companies where they'll produce kind of different reward tiers, and they'll say like, if you pay $10 a month, you can be part of this group. But if you pay like $50 a month, you can be part of this special group and you get more perks and more information, right? In Freemasonry, though, there's no point in hiding information in that way, because as you advance, you're not paying any more money, right? Like when I got my first degree, I was paying $100 a year to be a member. Those were my dues. When I got my third degree, I was still paying $100 a year. So it's not like there's any benefit to hiding information, to get more money out of people. That's not the way it works. Same thing with like when I joined Scottish Rite, I paid life dues. It's not like they can come back and get more from me. So, the idea of there's a progressive element to Freemasonry, and because of that progressive element, you're learning new things as you go. But to me, it will make no sense to hide the most important information at the end. To me, the smart thing to do in Masonic context is give the most important information to people in the first 3 degrees so they can be prepared in their Masonic journey moving forward. If that makes any sense. Vera, I think you're misguided. I could very well be misguided. Don't get me wrong. That is absolutely possible. But I do my best to try to know what I'm doing and try to pay attention to things and learn as I go. And the take on every ritual is different for every man. That is absolutely the case as well. That is absolutely the case. And that's one of the things I love about Freemasonry, right? It's common purpose, common ideas, but also different interpretations, which is something I think is really wonderful. Just as Z says, it's a roadmap, no promise of salvation, no threat of damnation, which is also a really important thing to keep in mind. But I think for me, one thing I always try to just mention, because people will say the 33rds have the true knowledge. It's like, I don't think it would make any sense for Masonry to hide the truth at the 33rd. I think what makes sense for Masons is to give, again, the most valuable and important lessons at the start, to then set people up on a solid footing and foundation by which they can then travel forward, in my opinion. I hope that makes sense. But it's great to have Z back once again. Z back sounded weird. It's great to have Zed back once again. I hope everybody's doing well. Thank you for joining. If you are new to the stream, I hope you'll hit the like button and subscribe button. It's funny to me, it's interesting to me that favorite Masonic musician, Mozart and Nat King Cole were the two that got votes. No votes for Brad Paisley, no votes for Louis Armstrong. I thought Louis Armstrong would get a couple of votes. I gotta be honest. But that's okay. I'm going to give it another, let's say, 10, 15 minutes and then go from there. I mean, well, you can use common purpose with ideas believing in almost anything, right? Like, I'd say, for example, a football team has a common purpose and kind of certain common traits amongst each player. Like, they'll believe in things like teamwork, they'll believe in things like practice and hard work, but they're not going to have a common like worship. They're all going to have different religious beliefs or different denominations or whatever it is, right? In the same with Freemasonry, it's a common purpose, but it's not a common purpose that relates to any particular spiritual or religious ideals. It's a common purpose that relates to self-improvement and in community and civic culture and civic improvement. Um, so I hope that makes sense as I just stretch out for a sec. Meow Mix, don't call me sir. My dad is sir, but I appreciate you. You appreciate it nonetheless. Um, oh, we got a Louis Armstrong vote. Um, I will check out the movie Amadeus. I appreciate that. Del Celine, I think is how to pronounce it. That's very kind of you to say. I will do my best to be careful, and just life in general, I try my best to be careful. Um, all right, we got the Louis vote. No, Louis Armstrong, he's saying it's a wonderful world. And I do believe in the moon landing. Who's talking about the moon landing over here? Because I see that kind of popped up, it looks like. Oh, Neil Arm. Because for some reason, sometimes in my chat, I get like people who don't believe in the moon landing. I don't know where that comes from, but that pops up in my chat a lot. I don't think Louis Armstrong. I'm sure Louis Armstrong was not related to Neil Armstrong, but Louis Armstrong sang "It's a Wonderful" or "What a Wonderful World," which is one of my favorite songs. I will check out Amadeus for sure. That is on my list. And thank you for the suggestion. I truly appreciate it. And Del Celine, I hope you'll be kind enough to hit the subscribe button. Since, maybe you came across my stream for a reason, maybe you can subscribe for a reason as well. Um, and maybe that will, keep you coming back for some more. I don't know what Skokian means. I know, Skokie, Illinois, which I'm going to be going back to soon. How long has masonry been around? Depends how you define it. Stone masonry, masonry of the building of things from stone, has been around 3.5 million years. I'll have to check that out. See, I don't know every Louis Armstrong song. I'll check it out for sure. I just know like It's a Wonderful World because it's one of my favorites. So masonry, if by masonry you mean the art of building things from stone, then I think it's been around for 3.5 million years when the first caveman in Africa, created a stone tool by bashing two stones together, which is, shaping stone and stonemasonry. Um, Freemasonry, or speculative masonry, which I am, speculative masonry, the social club, there are different dates that you can kind of go with. I go with June of 1717, thereabouts. Um, some would say 1634, some would say earlier with the Regius manuscript, but for me, I would go June of 1717. Just because it's just you got to pick a date at some point. June of 1717 works. Aleister Crowley, he was. I'm trying to remember my dates. Um, he was basically an author, right, who wrote about Freemasonry. But he was also irregular. So the extent to which anything he says is legit, you have to take with a salt lick, right, with a massive salt lick, because he went to Mexico, said he joined Freemasonry. The problem is there's no proof or confirmation of that. It seems like it was probably an illegitimate lodge. He then joined a lodge in France, but how much he was actually there, we don't know. And when he tried to join a lodge in England, they wouldn't allow him to. So, yeah, so irregular means, so Freemasonry, meow mix, you can think of Freemasonry as an umbrella term, which refers to different groups that um, derive their origins from stonemason guilds. And the way that these different groups um, form, or the way that these different groups interact with each other, is through something called regularity and recognition. And that is to make sure that people can't just call themselves a Mason without, joining something official. So for example, I could, if I wanted to, I could put a sign on my door of my apartment that says Cameron's Masonic Lodge and start Cameron's Grand Lodge and, do Masonic rituals or whatever it is. But I would not be considered regular. I'd be considered irregular because I wouldn't have permission to do that. And anybody who came and became a Mason through Cameron's Masonic Lodge would be considered irregular, right? And that's to maintain kind of the integrity of the craft, because you couldn't have. It's dangerous to have a situation where just anybody can call themselves a Mason, and you start having people take advantage of other people and all sorts of stuff. That's really uncomfortable. So you need to make sure you're doing things legitimately and with regularity. And Aleister Crowley seems like he was joining. Basically, anybody could come up to Crowley, say, "This is my Masonic Lodge," and he would just join it without checking if they were legit or just made up their lodge yesterday on a spur of the moment. If that makes any sense. Name my favorite car. Porsche 911, I guess. Let everybody talk. It's cool, Vera. I appreciate people being in the chat. What do you think about Black Sabbath? I don't know the song. I don't know anything about Black Sabbath. That was Ozzy Osbourne's band, right? I'm not a big Black Sabbath. I'm not a big like heavy metal fan. For me, I like rock, but it's all more like the hair metal stuff of the 80s, like Poison, um, Cinderella, Rat, Motley Crue. My favorite song, in case anybody is curious, is Simple Man by Leonard Skinner. And my second favorite song is Prodigal by Blacktop Mojo. I got to give them more credit because they're so incredible. So once we're done this, please take a moment to search Prodigal by Blacktop Mojo and listen to that song. It's a pretty incredible song. And I think Blacktop Mojo in general deserves more respect than they sometimes get. Also, whenever I do these streams, I think about one of my favorite songs, Coffee at Midnight. Steve Fox is back. Welcome back, Steve Fox. Typing is tough. I wish I'd spent more time in typing class in school, that's for sure. Welcome back, Couscous. I hope you're doing well. I hope you'll hit that like button. I hope anybody watching this, if you've not done so before, please hit the like and subscribe button. All right, no fighting in the chat. We're all friends here. Freemasonry should be about being harmonious, even if you're not Freemasons yourself. 9 votes. Mozart is absolutely crushing the competition right now. Nice to see my Masonic brother Mozart still being loved. What, a couple hundred years after his death now? About 200 years. And by the way, don't forget to check out not just these streams, but also my other Masonic streams. Oh, there's a siren outside. Hope everybody's okay. I mean, it might, war crimes might spice up the chat a little bit, but it'll also, YouTube might have some issues with it. How come I'm in the, I was born this way. So I was born missing my legs, which I don't mind at all. I feel lucky that I was born in 1983 when, there was still opportunities for people in wheelchairs. Unlike, if I'd been born this way in like the 1700s, I'd have been lucky to be alive at all. But I was born this way. And for the first about 10 years, first about probably 15 years of my life, I used artificial legs. But then when I went to my high school, they had ramps, and I switched over to the wheelchair, and I've enjoyed using the wheelchair ever since. Oh, I miss the 90s. Um, I miss the 90s. I miss the 90s for movies, the great scary movies. I miss all that stuff. I appreciate that, Vera. I mean, like I said, I do think, I think it would have been very difficult and much harder if I had been born with legs and then lost them in an accident, especially if I had been older and lost them in an accident, because then you kind of have to relearn everything. And that's really, really, really tough to have to relearn. Um, um, whereas when you're born without your legs, you kind of grow into it. You grow with it, if that makes any sense. And so you don't have to relearn things. So I feel like it was much easier in that sense. Um, Thank you, everybody, though, for being here. I truly appreciate it. Hope that everybody will hit the like button and subscribe button. Um, Tyrone, thank you for being here once again. I hope you're doing well. It definitely is morning. It is 2:34 for me here, so I am feeling it right now, that's for sure. And I will say, by the way, on a completely separate, not separate note, but some related note, Freemasonry has done a lot to help a lot of people in the world when it comes to um, 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 like medical assistance, charitable efforts. I know they bought wheelchairs for people, they bought walkers for people, they bought mobility aids for people. So it's been really special, the things that they've done. Well, I mean, it depends, I guess, Vera, on what you're looking for. I mean, I will tell people Freemasonry will not help you at all. Um, and I do take pride in that. I think Freemasonry, um, people should join Freemasonry with the goal of helping Freemasonry or helping the world. So when people now ask me, what does Freemasonry offer? What I tell them is Freemasonry offers you the opportunity to fight for a better world um, through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. And even if you're not a Freemason, if you have Masons fighting for that better world, then you benefit from it therein, right? Um, I will say anybody, Vera, who says like join Freemasonry and you'll get money or you'll get fame, those people are almost certainly scammers and not legitimate Masons. Um, so I would keep that in mind. But I mean, you meet people, you can be part of an institution that's been around for centuries, which is really cool. You take part in social events, they have banquets sometimes. Also there's a social safety net aspect of it where, you can, if you lose a job or have medical expenses or whatever it is, you can go to the lodge for financial assistance before needing to go other places. So that's really important as well. It does, Vera. Brotherly love does start with every individual. I 100% agree with that. But from there, it can hopefully expand outwards. I mean, for better or worse, the human condition is one that desires the formation of groups. I mean, when Aristotle, right, said man is a political animal, he didn't mean political as in Democrats, Republicans, left, right. He meant political as in we will always desire to form groups and bonds through those groups. And Freemasonry is one way to do it. It's not the exclusive way, but it is a way. And if you join it, you have the opportunity to gather with other people, put your resources together, and then fight for a better world. Even just the being in the lodge is a way to fight for a better world. So I truly believe that is the case. Beautiful dawning. Thank you, Black Raven Meditation. Welcome. Um, I hope that you are doing well and congratulations again. Or I guess I should say, welcome back to the YouTube game. I know you just put out a podcast episode, so that's awesome. Um, and some people are like that, Vera. Like even me, I would say I kind of would describe myself as a little bit kind of, I can be misanthropic about people. I tend to not be a huge fan of them all the time. But even I find I still desire a grouping sometimes. But maybe there are some who really don't desire to be part of a group and want to just love everybody equally without any type of group mediating factor, which is awesome as well. Um, I'm divided for love's sake, for the chance of union. I like that. I don't know exactly what that means, but I think it sounds really nice. Well, so I've talked about this actually on a podcast episode, Vera. I'm again, I'm not of any particular faith. I believe in a supreme being, but I don't believe in necessarily any religious tenets are literally true. But there is this belief in Judaism, which, if I recall correctly, is called Tikkun Olam. The idea that when God created the world, He broke it into pieces, and it is our responsibility to put the pieces back together and to come together to do so, which I really love that as an idea. And maybe, in some ways, we're the pieces that were broken apart, and we have to put ourselves together and recognize that we are already one. Spell that TICU. Oh my gosh. Let me see if I can find it now on my channel. Um, I want to spell it correctly because it's a really beautiful idea. Um, it's an older episode now though. Matthew Parker. Um, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, so TIKKUNOLAM. They also mentioned this idea in one of my favorite movies, um, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, which if you've not seen it, is a great movie and should be more popular than it is. TIKK. Actually, I'll write it in the chat. TIKKUNOLAM. That is, I believe, how it is spelled. Let me know if you can copy and paste that. Let me know if I got it correct or somebody knows. I'm not sure what that means, but that's cool. We are all meant to meet, so we will learn. I mean, I agree with that. Hopefully, maybe you and I were meant to meet through this stream, VR. I would certainly think that's possible. And hopefully, maybe I was meant to meet all of my Masonic brothers and learn from them as well. And hopefully, if possible, I've been able to teach them some things myself. And Meow Mix as well, and Black Ray Meditation, and everybody here. I'm very honored to have the audience I do have and the people who join me. I think it's wonderful. Your time is precious, and the fact that you're willing to spend some of it with me as I hang out and shoot the breeze and talk about the thing I love is something I definitely don't want anybody to think that I take it for granted. because I try my best not to. Dennis, welcome back, Dennis. How's it going? Howdy to you as well. 5 and 6. We got a cowboy. But I hope that I've been able to answer at least some of your questions successfully on Freemasonry. I am probably going to end this stream because I do have a ton of work I need to catch up on for tomorrow. It's going to be a very busy, busy day tomorrow, that's for sure. So thank you everybody who's joined the stream thus far. I truly appreciate it. I hope you will hit that like and subscribe button. One more time, and I'll be back on tomorrow at 1 p.m. Thank you, Black Raven, and keep up the great work on your end as well. Everybody watching this, take a moment, go to Black Raven Meditation's YouTube channel. Just type Black Raven Meditation into the stream. Subscribe to her stuff as well. There's also a bunch of different, podcasts I've been on as well. Wisdom in Christ Foundation, High Altitude Investing, great channel to check out as well. Black Raven Meditation, just let me know out of curiosity, because I'm curious if you voted in the poll and for whom you voted in terms of your favorite Masonic musician. Thank you, Steve. I try my best. Believe me, I'm not chill always in offline. I try to be chill online, though, that's for sure. Because online people, it's easier for people to take not being chill and kind of run with it and develop negative views. '71, I'm not sure, 71, like July 1st, 1980 is my assumption when you say 7180. Nat King Cole, good selection, Black Raven. Louis Armstrong for It's a Wonderful, or What a Wonderful World. I don't really know any other Louis Armstrong songs. I just love that song very much. So, oh my gosh, so January 6th, 1968. So, although for the record, maybe you guys don't have to share your birthdays in the chat, probably for privacy reasons. You might want to keep that stuff. You might want to keep that stuff a little bit more private, maybe. Keep your birth dates occult. Perhaps might be more appropriate. Who knows? But I do, again, appreciate everybody being here. I have got a ton of really exciting things coming up. I'm going to be talking to you guys about what it is. And what they are. So please follow me on all my social media sites, Instagram, Facebook, etc., etc. Just Square and Compass Promotions. If you type that into the different spots, you should find it. I will be back on tomorrow. I'm going to be talking about what I'm going to be up to. It's going to be really special. Thank you guys so much. I will see everybody soon. It's wonderful to have you all join. And have a great night.